Another way we can determine what it takes to be a conqueror is by comparing and contrasting Conqueror's Haki users from non-users. The best examples we can use is the main trios that Oda has written in the story. Of course, you have the Monster Trio, which includes Sanji along with Luffy and Zoro, but you also have the Supernova Trio of Luffy, Kid, and Law, and finally the Brothers Trio of Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. Now, out of all of these trios, 2 out of the 3 of them are confirmed to be Conqueror's Haki user, and there's always one odd man out, which I think is a very intentional design. If you look at the personalities of each trio, the 2 conquerors are very hot-headed and impulsive, while the non-conqueror is very careful and thoughtful. Now, not every conqueror has to be so bold and irrational like Luffy, Kid, and Zoro, but I think the underlying idea is that conquerors need to have this never back down mindset, and Oda writes them this way so that they can contrast more easily with those who rely on their brains more than their willpower, like Sanji, Law, and Sabo do. But the introduction of Scopper Gaban seems to throw a wrench in this theory, as the Pirate King trio seems to be the most direct parallel to the Monster Trio, and all 3 of them have Conqueror's Haki. However, I don't think Scopper is Sanji's direct parallel when it comes to personality and mindset, as he actually seems to be the wild and brash one out of the trio in his youth. Scopper was known to butt heads constantly with Roger back in the day, and the calm and calculated one appeared to be the right hand Rayleigh instead. But you also have to keep in mind that just like the red-haired pirates, almost none of the Roger pirates use devil fruits and they rely on Haki instead. Because they aren't the main characters, naturally the Roger pirates aren't going to have as interesting abilities compared to the Straw Hats, but narratively they still need to be strong enough to serve as the model for the Straw Hats. So I think that's one of the 2 reasons why Oda chose to have them rely on Haki so much and gave the top 3 fighters all advanced Conqueror's Haki. But when it comes to Sanji and the other Straw Hats besides Luffy and Zoro, Oda seems to be avoiding using Haki as a power-up for them, and focusing on their unique abilities instead. Usopp is the sole exception to this, but this plays into my point further as I'll explain later. Oda gave Luffy and Zoro 3 Haki power-ups between the 2 of them in the Wano arc alone, yet Sanji still has the same basic armament and observation that he started with at the start of the time skip. Oda easily could have given him Future Sight and Whole Cake or advanced armament in Wano, yet Oda chooses to give Sanji Germa upgrades and develop his flames instead in the Wano arc. And I think this goes again to Oda writing Luffy and Zoro in a distinct way from the rest of the Straw Hats, which I explained in another video. But to me this affirms that Oda is following the Ace, Sabo, Luffy or the Luffy, Kid, and Law dynamic when it comes to Conqueror's Haki for the Monster Trio as well.